Hello, my lovers. It's MJ from Alta Love TV. How are you? And Happy New Year. I'll say that maybe for the next couple days and then we'll simmer down and just settle into 2020, okay? Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So today I have just finished watching Adrienne Elise, her most recent update. I apologize, Adrienne, I don't recall. But it's basically the portal between, she does the Gaia update. If you don't know Adrienne Elise, I'd highly recommend. If you're empath, if you resonate with empath and the kind of idea of light worker or whatever. Hey, Scott Hicks, how are you, my friend? So watching Adrienne, the Gaia update for December 31st through to January 1st, or today. And then she said something which then triggered part of this desired share or guided share, the rise of empathy. I'm sure we've been talking about this for years, and yet it's just a kind of more experienced and or relatable fact at this point. It's like all of this empowerment stuff has slowly been reconfiguring different constellations in the collective, which is then triggering activations and permeating the field. So with this reconfiguration, then you've got a more potent light quotient coming through, and that is that permeates the field. So you could say groups of empaths, even on our online community of empaths, is again helping to amplify and assist the global paradigm shift and mass awakening. I signed up for Gaia today. Yay, awesome. I know I get her updates. She's actually like the only person I'm subscribed to as far as getting to read the little updates. Hey Christian, how are you, my friend? I'm quite early today, so I'm wondering where you guys are in the world. For some reason I feel like, Christian, you're in Washington, but I'm something like, I have no idea if that's correct. So then watching Adrienne just made me think about, the empathy. And I had a conversation with somebody at the weekend, and we were speaking of empathy, and she kind of just stopped and was like, not everyone is empathic, as in not everyone has that ability. And I think it was like, I was like, yeah, I agree. I feel like more of us as empaths who were born empaths are, as adults now, coming together and helping one another to understand, because part of LA, hence why, oh no, I guess it really wouldn't matter time-wise at this hour for me. It's 1:30 in the morning for me. So Scott's in Grants Pass, Oregon. That sounds like it's probably like a really lovely area. LA, I've only had layovers in LA. I've never actually visited, but I watched the hair video. Hi, I know. Can you tell? I'm like, you don't know who I don't know if any of you people are long hair people, but like, I'm happy with the cut. It needed to be done, but already I'm like, okay, good. Now I can grow it out long, because it's much healthier now. And I did, and energetically, I often feel really like, you girls and boys who've ever had hair know, energetically, like you feel lighter. I feel the energetic release of the, I know I've been so, and ultimately I'm aware, because I actually get like emotional, like because I'm grieving like the energetic attachment I had, not just to the hair, but all the experiences that go along with that kind of chunk of hair. I know it seems like people might not res, but I do. And I had this whole download last night about the fact that I haven't had to cut my hair to here, which the past in my teens, and then I'm trying to think, when I was 16 and when I was 20, and then when I was 29 and 30, I had more choppings of the hair, and it was always like, whatever. Anyway. Okay, doke. So this share, I digress. My apologies, but this share is the rise of empathy, human evolution, and the quantum fusion. And intuitively, I suppose what I'm um, feeling into is this idea of the human evolution and actually the importance of empathy and the teachings of empathy. What does that entail? And to me, that really is an energetic mastery, a very profound, visceral, tangible, experiential understanding of energy in human form and how it works in relationship to our human relationship, but also our quantum fusion. And to me, that means that as a soul spark, that we recognize our relationship to all that is, which is all experiences across all dimensions and timelines. And of course, it has to do with our experience and or relational experience with all incarnation that we've ever chosen to incarnate in. And of course, our relationship to the earth field, which is why increasingly, I would say, more people expressing themselves in such ways really do promote um, the tenets of intuitive healing and or connecting to that intuitive spark, and it's, we all, of course, we need one another. I worked with healers for a long time, and I would work with them again if it was in alignment, right? But it's from a different point of attraction of knowing the whole self, versus and or the openness of getting to know the whole self through thine is the kingdom, through that perceptive gate, or giving one's power away. And this is so much a part of the theme for the empath, are the subtle ways that we do these protective patternings to keep ourselves safe from the wounding of our power. And the weird binaries or paradox is always that we're facing down illusions of fear and disconnection. We're facing down these illusions where we were disconnected from our own bodies. We were disconnected from our emotions. We were disconnected from our intuition. And not only disconnected, but we were taught to shame. So once we're disconnected, we're taught to shame our emotions. We're taught to shame our bodies. We're taught to not even shame, but hate. Like, so this sort of like, again, this sort of layering of emotional awareness. So, and then that's why the rise of empathy is coming, because the empath has, and why it's important for us as empaths to congregate and start and biofeedbacking off of one another, because in fairness, most of our um, perhaps family, but then for a lot of us, I'll speak for myself because I would never want to make assumptions about other people's spiritual journeys, but or just life journey, because I'm like, to me, there's no separation. Call it my life path or my spiritual journey. It's the same thing, right? But for a lot of us, when we go through the awakening, part of the reason that we keep attracting so-called narcissists is because these people are helping us learn about energy. They're helping us activate, remember, open, learn, observe. And then that obviously is the amplification of our understanding of how it's working. It's through relating to other empaths that I'm starting to empower my own empathy and see it as a gift, as a tool, as a teaching, as in what this person I spoke to the weekend reflect, or just recently, I think it was New Year's Eve, and they're like, not everyone has empathy. And then I just, as I always do, and I'll flow in the moment, it was like, of course, the empaths are the new humble teachers of how energy works when we're relating to one another. And because the empath can quite, and not just, I mean, this is also, if I'll continue to express myself within the empath awareness, but also reiterate the fact or share the fact that I've been meditating for 10 years and doing a lot of yoga since I was like 12 or 13. So body work and like the discipline of things like meditation and or yoga, and then also working with healers and mentors and doing energy courses. So it's there's a discipline that goes along, I would say, to understanding and then being able to discern empathy versus, the reactivity, or it's like that classic dynamic of people targeting the trigger rather than like going deeper and going deeper. And for most of us as empaths, that's always been a quest. Or again, not, I shan't continuously clump us all together, but remind us that I'm here speaking from my personal experience. As a highly sensitive empath. And again, most of us as children didn't know we were highly sensitive empaths. It wasn't like a thing. We were just sensitive. We were often, a lot of us can relate to parents or teachers or friends or what have you, telling us that we're far too sensitive and that we needed to fix ourselves somehow. And you're like, okay. And then ultimately, we're here now as adults unraveling all those little fixing of ourselves, because that's a false construct. Our divine spark knows the truth of who we are, and it's ultimately walking in that truth in faith, and being willing to share it and shine it. And that it's kind of like all there is to it. Because a lot of the expressions of joy and happiness that we saw were masked or tainted by the underbelly of unconscious creation, of enslavement, and the underlying part of, for me, I can address part of that, for some reason not being able to work for a corporation ever since the awakenings, or ever or not lasting, certainly in big corp, and then working even jobs or working with other people. It's like I felt the underlying energetic drain. I knew there was just something really off about this construct, and then further down the line, all the different rabbit holes you can simmer through starts to kind of reflect back that there is an underbelly, and there is more to this material world than meets the eye. And when you pull on threads around that, you can see the matrix hologram, and you can feel into like the bodies of energy and or the energetic tentacles of darkness, corruption, low level creation. It's basically using light to create, to cover, to mask darkness, versus authentically rising the soul self to vibrate that light frequency, that light quotient, that love quotient, right? And so there's a certain amount of energetic awareness in as far as being present during really profound experiences to allow the alchemy, right? Hi, Lynn. Winnie the Pooh. I love that, especially because Winnie the Pooh is such a childhood friend to so many of us, including myself. Hey, tree hugger. Happy New Year! Lots of love to you, Winnie Pooh. It's so great to have you here. It's so great to have all of you here. So yeah, okay, so human evolution and then the quantum fusion. I mean, initially I was just going to write like quantum understanding, but then that would be a kind of different context, because it's not like it's mainly, I guess, when I think of the quantum fusion idea, it's more that the empathic awareness is now like anchoring itself. That's what I'm feeling here now, is like the crystallization of the light body is now like more stable, more fixed. So we would say fifth dimensional rather. So fifth, and yesterday I got the insight that it's actually like fifth to the ninth of the primary energetic threshold that we're working with, and that some of us, many in fact, certainly in this community, have essentially transformed. I almost want to say transmuted, but I don't think that's the right word. And thus complete, kind of like wrapped up and or are wrapping up the lower three, the lower three dimensional base tones of creation, which again is the third dimensional polarity of duality and fear-based thought projection, which needs the infinity loop stays on a certain place when you're working in that construct, because um, it's constantly push and pull. It's fight or flight, right? It's constantly that because, um, well, because it's control and domination. There's separation. There's duality, right? So that's a level of learning, just like we go through grade school. Third dimensional, three-dimensional perspective, reality, life is a belt of experience until you have whatever experiences to come to the heart space, which starts to work, you would say, like that fourth dimension, that those of us living in empathy, that know we're empaths and know that we were born empaths. That's I guess you could say the indigo wave was the fourth dimensional energy making manifest, coming through. I would say, in a sense, some of the most difficult, and then rising from moving through that tricky bandwidth of the fourth dimension, and then anchoring in the fifth, which is really just those that are listening to intuition, that live in connection to the self, which of course is the invisible realms or the quantum realm. So the quantum fusion is really just an anchoring and or an embodiment of the higher light quotient that we would call fifth dimension, and yet fifth dimension is now opening up an access point from within our cosmic gate, which again is an invisible awareness in the infinite self, where there's the access up to the ninth. And what I mean, obviously there's infinite, right? But like when we're talking in human form and we start to reach into the, we're open, chakra points are aligned as in with full sentience, and then you move into eighth and ninth and beyond. What I'm saying is that different beings are going to basically be anchoring, embodying more fullness of their full self, which then really just means they're really lighting up and permeating the field, and their energetic vortex, they just become more powerful light-filled beings, which means they cause more ruckus, which means they activate more souls. So the higher the dimensions that we go, so some of us here will probably working definitely seventh and up. I'm hearing like 7 to 12 for some of you guys. I, in my meditation yesterday, just got up to 9, and that even surprised me a little bit. But the way I see it as well, it's just having an awareness of the self that exists in those dimensions. So you, almost like a dream, will have an awareness of the different timelines that are possibly active, or just simply in your awareness, and then you bring them into your auric field in the here and now. You bring them into your energetic awareness here now, which then empowers your here now and means that you radiate more of your infinite self, which is to me the quantum fusion, because you're then becoming anchored in the quanti. You're becoming anchored in the reality of the non-reality, you could say. Thus, you have access to more infinite potentiality, and then you can make that manifest in the here and now choosing. So, like this is when you could say like the channeling. I'm not even sure exactly what I'm talking about. There's just information coming through with regards to the guided share, and somehow somehow it makes sense, basically. Yeah, thank you. Then I'm like, hi, I'm here, and then you guys add information, which then creates affirmation or clarity or any number of things, right? But Tree Hugger, I have found that. Oh yeah, and I think it was Tree Hugger mentioning the eighth. You said like the seventh is our connection to God or the cosmos or whatever, and then the eighth is God's connection. So like the eighth is where we can go hang out with God, and the seventh is where God come hang out with us, kind of thing. So I have found the transition easier to comprehend as anchoring myself into fifth from fourth instead of perceiving it as out there separate from self. Love it for sure. And dare I say, in a sense, just the more of us. You remember that convo? Great. um, I have found, even just again, like a year of sharing here, a year of interrelating, a year of shape shifting our realities, and via that, it's like there is a so the anchoring is also part of why we're able to start understanding, because more and more and more of us are not unconscious slaves to the programmed mind, right? And so the more we like share and noodle and like reflect and link energetic arms, you could say, or hands. uh what did you say? Something about comprehension? Yes, and it's easier. I have found it's easier to comprehend. Yeah, because we're discerning, deducing, creating as we go, and shedding the programming that didn't align with our soul. So as we come into alignment with our soul, sharing the information as we go, it makes more sense. It becomes easier, right? Um, Even just continual biofeedback instead of perceiving it as out there separate, because it isn't. And I think that's a huge, I would say, even just based on the comment there, like that is part of the fourth to fifth shift, is that in fourth, like for most of us as children, born as empaths. So I would dare say that empaths, like really natural, total natural born empaths, are born into fourth dimension because their heart's active, and they're sentience, and they're already biofeedbacking, energetically speaking, hence the sensitivities. And then for those of us that, knowing it was like we wouldn't be able to survive technically going into third at this point, so we start moving um into fifth consciously. And then in truth, like the way I'm discerning that comment in my own awareness as well, is that, well, yeah, when we start to integrate the energies from some level of spiritual activation, awakening, initiation, what have you, and we start going through the emotional healing process, for example, or we start to have the atonement, again, like the ascension, awakening, whatever words you want to use, but this healing process, this like becoming one process, that is that fourth to fifth. And then that is what integrates the soul self like into that wholeness. So then like, even instead of perceiving it, there's, yeah, and like that just become like and most of us as well, as we were transitioning from fourth to fifth, it was just less and less and less separation. Like overly mental people or overly intellectual sometimes, or, and I wouldn't answer as intellectual, but like clever, or maybe I would just say maybe certain people that were just way much more in their heads than present, right? And they would start asking questions, or and almost like wanting to just juggle along or have a debate or something like that. And sometimes I would just be like, I just don't know what you're saying. Like, I don't, I'm not sure what question you're asking me. And they would almost sometimes get frustrated with me, or just be like, oh, like, why can't you understand? And I'm like, no, I do understand. I'm not sure like what the point. And then sometimes I'd start to feel energetically attacked because I wasn't. Anyway, anywho, um, as I anchor and set my mind aside, I am aligning with my many selves who give me information to help me maneuver here. Yeah, that totally resonates. No, and no worries for the spelling errors. I figure it out. I figure it out. That totally resonates. Because the meditation yesterday was kind of that, like all the many selves, and it's so true. It was like it was like almost like armor, or yeah, additional tips and tools, like additional help in maneuvering, through these energies. And like, because all these different aspects of self have such often different qualities about them. Some are quite warrior like, some are very fairy like, some are very uh brutal. There, we all have, and there again, no one can do this kind of stuff because it's all locked away in the in the individual construct or in the individual divine spark. So we can only do this stuff within the self because the self is like the one self ultimately is the only one that can know itself. And I guess that's something as you anchor in the 5D stuff, you just start to get that more. Whereas when you're still very much in the 3D, this conversation sounds like hogwash, and or this is where people laugh, people feel angry, people feel any number of things because it all gets twisted up weirdly from within their own egoic confusion. And so we either just blame and attack, or we push it away, or we ridicule, or we do any number of those things. We just put things in boxes because emotionally, you could say, just emotionally you can't deal. And then oftentimes if you won't process, if you don't want to feel the emotion, or you don't want to feel, or rather process, heal, then the mind in essence kind of just has cognitive dissonance. It won't make the connection. It won't, and it would just go round in circle. But even when I say it out loud, okay, that's there's books, there's plenty, we all navigated and found our way here, so can everybody else. Hence this next leap for many of us is like, just be free and claim your freedom and be be the free creator that you are. And then in so doing, that is our divine teaching. The truth shall set you free. It's not my words that are going to set people free. It's not any of the stuff that's going to set us free. The truth. Where do you find the truth? It's not out there. It's inside the self. It's inside the self of one heart. And that one heart, and we're all individuations of that unified field. So we can't find the unified field out there. We can only feel into it via the expression of our individuation, of the expression of our own godlike construct of separation and darkness and duality. Hence our ability to actually own and transform even that which we call the system, or that which we call control and domination. Because once we kind of own it as the self, then we can recognize the crafty ways in which we would have endeavored to create it for the soul's expansion, for the soul's growth, like with God, like being like, yeah, what if we like almost forget that we were homies? Like, what would happen then? And what kind of adventure would our soul endeavor? What kind of light could we then embody if we went into the severity of darkness? Yeah, and none of this that I'm speaking out loud is some kind of firm truth of like, this is the real history, MoFlo lovers. Yeah, this is just random noodles. This is just different, I would say, pretty high flying thought that feels good and feels like, hey, maybe that, maybe this. And it's just stuff that might feel more spacious, that might feel a little bit more enlightened. Truth is within your gray matter, the junk DNA, not junk Yoda, not junk Yoda. Hey, Susanna, how are you? Jacqueline, sovereignty is ours to live by. Hills to the user, my lover. Oh, ooh, I like it. Each dimension is a doorway within the mind of self. Totally. For those catching up, fourth dimension is of love, right? And astral awareness. Yeah, I would also say like the intuitive awareness in fourth dimension, or certainly, or maybe it's like, maybe actually the fourth, fifth is like, what did you say? The fourth is astral awareness. And I'm thinking of the bridge. So the astral awareness, and then the bridge into the fifth is when, yeah, like the intuition becomes completely known, kind of thing. Maybe once we comprehend all is love, then we move into now. Yeah, exactly. One, wisdom fifth, unity sixth, graduation seventh, and then 8 is the next octave. So Tree, I'm curious about, like, I wonder what your awareness then is of these higher dimensions. So if you're saying that there is an actual kind of like you know, sort of piece that we're all noodle with that. I randomly want to take a picture of that comment because it will remind me of sup divine side. Hey H, how are you? I want to talk up and then oh wait, obviously there would be a repeat. That's all, right? That we just complete, and then the ninth dimension is the beginning of a new world. Is that correct? I don't even know, but I'm intrigued because so when I did my healing course, we spoke of this, and I'm pretty sure we went up to like I think the 14th dimension, and it was like we learned all the different colors as well of the beyond chakras, and like, but then in my awareness, I was suddenly aware of like hundreds or thousands. Like in my awareness, it's almost like a being. Do I have a picture that kind of represents what I see? No, I deleted them. But I mean, it's almost like sacred geometry and or connecting of the dots, but like the human body, but then on the energetic. I often see, so I see white light points and the chakra points, but then there's like all these electrical currents moving around, which also have like mini energy points, but then actually chakras here, and like the soles of the feet. And then ultimately for me, once I light up like eighth, that's when I start to go into like, I can see the ninth, the 10th, the 11th, like, and then it's almost like your whole aura has chakra points all around it. So like there's like a bubble of light, which is made up of like little vortexual, yeah, like little vortexual zones, you could say. Hey, ha ha, what? Everybody's here. Everybody. Oh my gosh, I would think it begins working with ourselves as spiritual beings and living our lives working through the macro as a galactic being. That's why I love you guys. It's the simplicity sometimes that we can noodle out together. Yeah, I would think it's like working with yourself as spiritual. It's like, oh my God, I'm spiritual. I'm beyond this physical being. Yeah, and then what? Oh shit, I've got all of these other aspects of self. Like most of us are on the Federation, the Galactic Federation, like having meetings up there. Although I've left, so it's fine. Stanley's Iron Man is a chakra model. Okay, I can look that up. Think music scale. First note and eighth note on a scale are both same C. These octaves repeat and repeat. Oh my God, you guys are geniuses until one is conscious enough to escape the black hole of musical karma. Oh my God, tree huggers on fire! Fire. Also, I'm thinking of Down to Earth Dad right now. I'm thinking of Aaron. The slow growing seed. And then I just get this wave, like right now, I just get this wave of like, and none of it matters, you guys. Like none of it is being judged or well judged. None of it's being like all of this noodling is just our own fun escapades of conscious co-creation, you know? Chakra points on palms and feet. Yeah, that's what I get. Did you guys have some nice Happy New Year ceremony? This tree is on fire. Oh, my lovers. That's true as long as we get to the recognition of it all. Tell me about that. Tell me about the tell me about the Jacqueline. Tell me about the Jacqueline Dennis. If you feel like it, Jacqueline, I'm curious. That's true. As long as we get to the recognition of it all. What do you mean by that? They're getting to the recognition of it all. I'm curious. You know. Polar plunge in Hot Springs, Montana. Wanting. Right, none of it matters. Ooh, 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 yes, yes, very nice discernment for even different people that stumble upon this. You're absolutely right. It's not about there again. This is where like we can talk more about intention and meaning. Pardon me. When you said none of it matters, because from a 3D perspective, you could get like, who cares? None of it matters. Apathy. And that is not what I'm about. And that's not, it's not about burying head in the sand. It's not about ignorance or apathy of like, whatever, carelessness, that. It's an actual kind of owning and integrating all the totality on, say, one finishing one octave of lessons and learning, wrapping that in a bubble, and then that learning is all a part of you. So it's almost like a hyper awareness, so that one can discern, rather, so that one can discern the kind of choosing of the battles. Like, I'm happy to chat here and da da da, and then maybe, and then at some point not, and or somebody might make a comment that I'm not vibing with. Um, Awakening is the recognition. True, 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 true. And in fairness, as empaths, most of us, again, were when we were born this way, right? So the when you said none of it matters, awakening is the recognition. That's the, yes, 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 you guys, exactly. Like, for me, those early awakenings was the recognition that I am the sun, and if I can be taken away by the beauty of a glorious sunset, then I'm one with the fear, the darkness, and the right, and then you're off, right, and then you're on your path to the 5D, because you essentially on the energetic level can't survive from 3D perspective no more. Happy, happy, happy New Year, Lorna. I should try and like not be super duper loud. Yeah, like I'm aware of that. And I feel the cycles bleed in and out of one another, of the age cycles, which is also a biological thing. Biologically, we shift every 7 years or so. And then is it the cells of our skin? They say that by the time 7 years of chronological years has passed, the cells completely unique, different. The cells of the body, the skin cells of your body have completely regenerated. Tree hugger. And then I'm like, any musicians that watch this stuff, if Down to Earth Dad ever ends up watching this and getting to this point, this is like, I'm feeling this whole community. Yeah, okay, so every 7 years you're fully regenerated. Um and now I'm getting this sense of like, and this is why the small mind, like the analytical mind, when it comes to like deducing from purely the what is witnessed in the eyes, is just a complete falsity, because like I'm suddenly seeing these octaves, and then I'm seeing this regenerative quality of the cells of our body, and then I'm seeing our own unique divine soul spark, like the tree of life and the cell division, and then infinity as well, and then how like only one, each divine spark is completely unique, yet it's part of the whole, so it does know itself, but it goes to great lengths. And now I'm getting something about like the control and domination system. Oh my. Okay, there's a lot coming up right now. Yep, new cells replicated. Well, and then another layer that I got was that I'm trying to be quiet too. Are you? Who else is trying to be quiet? Um, so one's age by years. Okay, so we did that, and then the cells, and then we talked about the colors and the octaves. But then I, in my something dropped in around patterns for me. Um, and then I had a aha moment of going, wait, it's like you can't figure it out in your mind, in the small mind, of course, of like if the individual. Because now what you're making me realize is like there literally are infinite patterns within the patterns as well. Because the 7 years, if you think about the cells regenerating, that means that every seven, but then that means that every year there's another year that gets regenerated. Because I was you guys, some of you guys know this about me, and this is part of I talk about it in the book. I talk about patterns. The more I'm working with patterns, the more I'm um there's just kind of too many almost to wrap my head around. And then when it comes to just simple human navigating life, being too much in my head starts to be like, but there's yeah, and then that makes me think of the infinite paradox loop and like uh really we have infinite selves across infinite dimensions, which is somehow like even connected, I would say, to what we're talking about with these octaves. Each octave is essentially another dimension. So, but dimension is only co created in separation via the illusion of separation. All dimensions. Because we are the contained and the container. So we're the light and the dark. We're the infused quantum fusion. Weirdly, I'm like, I don't know why we're this human thing or where this title share is coming through, and I'm thinking human evolution and quantum fusion. As beings, we're actually fusing with our quantum, more of our quantum selves, and that then again is part of the construct of human evolution is having access to these um, quantum realities so that we can bring them in, so that we can create them. The patterns are all overlaid. They're all stimulus. Yeah. See, I need to take all this and then I need to relax and discern because there's loads in here. The patterns are all overlaid. Yeah, I res with that. And and that's how we get activated via the patterns. I mean, but like, okay, straight up, my early awakenings, it's not like I was aware of patterns in the same way. I wasn't aware of my mind feelings as creation in the same way, right? And I guess maybe this is all part of the death process here now, is like the grieving, the loss, the letting go, the facing down, the shadows, the shames. It's like they're all simultaneous. The patterns are all overlaid. Yeah, and we get the ego of fear via the fear construct gets attached to the overlays because we think that's our reality. The more of us that are aware that that's just a holographic overlay of our own old projected self or unconscious projected self, hence integrating more of our invisible timelines, we then start and then processing the energetics, processing the feels, right? Then we can consciously step into new realities and new realities and new realities because it's all a simulation of our own projection, rising out of the ones that we were given by other versus claiming as self-owned. I would say is another big jump. Capricorn death. Girl. I love a good clean, and I love a washing of dishes and brushing our teeth and washing our bodies. I don't know if you're like me, but like, washing can feel real good. So it's just I can't help it. Where did that come from? Capricorn death and then divine sight. I can't help it. Go. Go. Where are you getting that from? I'm kind of I'm like, I don't know what it resonates. I'm like Capricorn, as in like Capricorn is represented by the devil in the tarot, and then dot dot. Where's that come from? If you're still there, Capricorn dot dot death. The mountain goat. Explain Capricorn. Oh, is it? Right. I really feel like I watched something recently that like did share that information, and clearly it didn't really land because it resonated. Um, for some reason, I'm like, I always thought that Scorpio was the ruler of death, or no, maybe Scorpio is the ruler of the underworld. Ah, in that long ass share, I think we talked about it, or I talked about it, and then um, yeah, that long ass share, and so like the first 30 minutes before she got into the individual signs, right? Ah, right. So Capricorn being at the top of the zodiac wheel, to get to rise to the top, every false bass tone basically has to die, and then be reborn or born at the top. Well, I'm Capricorn ascendant as well, tree hugger, and it's all coming up now. It's all becoming very real to me now. It's like my whole 20s and 30s was me exhibiting my very Aryan nature, and then really the last 3 years has been me sort of becoming much more, pardon me, Capricorn. Having new foundations, putting pillars down, steady, steady, steady wins the race. Capricorn is devil. Yeah, Capricorn is definitely the devil in the tarot. Um, Death in the tarot is Scorpio. Thank you for the clarification. It's a death and rebirth transformation. Who's to the user? Zelda's. My midheaven is in Capricorn. Right, right, right. I'm Aries with a Capricorn moon. Amazing. I'm Aries with Capricorn ascendant and Virgo moon. I mean, oh my goodness, though, you guys will probably get this. Like, the more you go into the astro, I mean, it's amazing. I really hope to like go on a retreat with us, with Lada. A couple of us going on just doing a deep dive and for fun, like just to learn more about astro, but in like a retreat scenario, or just like online learning. But I'd rather go do an experience. Yo. Oh, an H. So Scorpios like to hide their fear. Yep. So full moon eclipse in Cancer. This is what we just traversed, is it not? Like in the here now, and or the last year and a half, all of the eclipses have been in Cancer Cap, because the North Node, South Node axis has been in these signs. So as of next July, I believe, so July 2020-ish, we'll be moving toward, what would it be? Sagittarius and Gemini? Because I'm moving back. A year ago, we were in Aquarius and Leo, right? Um, so yeah, gamma galactic knife waves coming through now. The galactic knife, gamma galactic knife. Oh, I feel like that might have something to do with also the continuation of the bifurcation. I think the bifurcation is now becoming quite a. What's this? H. Yes. No. What is? What is it? What is it, Jolene? Sounds great. I'm retired now. This is direct opposition. Wait, I have to go back up to tree hugger. Cancer will end for essay for bifurcation. Hey, that makes some kind of sense to me. That the bifurcation will be complete by the next transit, basically. And that means the base tones will actually be dropped off the planetary realm of the higher vibrational version. Does that make sense to anyone? H, my lover. This is in direct opposition. Are you talking about something more specific to do with your birth chart, H, or are you noodling on something for the collective? Curiosity. That's all. Realize Capricorn devil. Realize they see through the illusion. Capricorn, the devil. Realize they see through the illusion, so seem to get away with loopholes and cheats due to having known the rules of the soul game. Dude, that is so legit. It's like my yoga career. Rising above the illusion of various things. There's still aspects that I'm not vocally sharing. Some of you do now. But yes, the Capricorn, I res with that. Like from a very young age, certainly since my early awakenings, I naturally just didn't. I guess it's only looking back now, and I can see that never having interest in some of the things that everybody else has interest in, because in a way now I'm like, oh, I think there's been a mastery beforehand. Hence, I'm like, okay, let's crack on with the next level of mastery, shall we? As in, on a soul level, not having interest in the material acquisition, like the corporate ladder or making lots of money or any of that shit. Because I was just like, that's not it. It's not there. I've been there, done that. Like now, how do you quantum spiritual mastery, right? For the purpose of co-creation on a higher level for all of humanity. Ox. Hi. Happy New Year to you, and thank you for your message. What's up, my friend? No, just the heavenly bodies rotating. There's H. This is direct opposition. It's an important moon, babe. Is that for the one coming up? So there's the next eclipse, January 10th. Which, bloody hell, we're not far away. It's already January 2nd. I feel like we just had the last one, December 26th, and everything's going so fast. Also, I'm realizing that some of the patterns that we're wrapping up are compounding. I don't know why, how to kind of make sense of it, but I am really realizing that some of these patterns we're moving through so quickly that we can't even tell it's a pattern anymore, because it's just like that it is actually part of an old pattern, but because before that pattern might have acted itself out over 3 months, and now it's happening in a millisecond, that we're not, and I guess it's okay, because we could all just sit around and talk about it and bring stuff into the light of our awareness if we needed to, but a lot of stuff we don't need to. So tree hugger, my birthday's on the 5th of January. Happy Capricorn. Tree hugger is a good master of the light force to have in our communities, isn't it? We have so much amazing, awesome humans here. And galactic warriors of light and peace. The rainbow children. I totally agree with you, since I'm a first waver empath starseed. How beautiful. And I mean, I get that for the most part. My lovers, it is we've talked about oversoul, and people talk about soul tribe. It's like my own individual, how I said I see the individual sort of galactic makeup as these dots that make up a kind of constellation. That's a being, a star system, a star seed, right? And so, as the seed of an individuation, but of a kind of, again, a bandwidth co-creative expression, if we imagine the micro, the macro, then we together also create a star, a constellation, a configuration, right? And via the coming together from where we've been to where we are in the here now, it's the 5D and up co-creative field. So what I'm saying, Jacqueline, is that yes, I totally agree with you. As in, we are expressions of the same light. Hence, what so many of us who've connected are actually like, we reflect back experiences. We feel at times like we're the same person because, and are, on a soul level, we would have experienced a lot of karmic looping together. To meet, recognize, and then be able to anchor. It's like what I talked about in one of my like promo videos, the system one, where I talk about needing one another to help ground, in a very true, real sense. Y'all being in my reality help me to ground. Some of you, know this. It's been, we've entangled. We've been part of one another's realities to be like, like, bring it down, bring it down. It's not comfortable, but nobody having to have an intergalactic snake fart is comfortable, my lovers. We're gonna snake fart right out of 2019. We're gonna. Oh my god, I love you guys. I love you. Wait, tree hugger Dave Mahoney. I just realized I said it, but like out loud, but it was in my mind, it was like a whisper, but then I realized I did vocalize it. Tree hugger Dave Mahoney, there it goes again. When we were accused of eating the apple fruit of knowledge, karma included, I said, okay, I made the tree my bitch. I made my bonza. Yeah, and I would say like the snake also we became friends with, and all of the creatures of the garden were like, yo, we're gonna rewrite this story once and for all. Yeah, it's so bizarro. Like holy shizzle styles on another level. But then we recognize that it's a quantum leap. It's not just like a little like another step for mankind. This is a quantum leap. Like as we anchor in the new, there's nothing to look back to. There is like once we make the quantum leap, the other world, everything disappears. Except what I'm aware of is like there's infinite intelligence. So I'm like, you'll still be able to access those codes in the Earth of Cache. We're a different civilization. Imagine, the oracles and the wisdom teachers, healers that you could just go to access certain information. At the same time, the whole point was that we start to re-indoctrinate or relearn or reshare as a species to teach young people how to access their infinite. I'm like, this is why I think for a lot of us, when we start to become aware of this information, we're like, guys, like, do you realize you create your own reality? And then it's always a bit of it's a weird blow when you're like, why isn't everybody, hi guys, that's that kind of when you go through that alien process of like, why doesn't anyone else care? Why isn't anybody wanting to make change? Why isn't everybody excited about this awesome information? Because they're zombies. I don't know. Can't even formulate it into words at this point. The experiences, the entanglements, the shift. No point. It's like what I was saying before about the patterns. Like I can't. It's all so fast sometimes. I'm like, I like to work it out. It can feel kind of probably on like more of an egoic level, but like it feels like crafty, like mama, yeah. But none of that matters anymore because most of it isn't relevant to the now. Like the now is the now, and we can keep being here now. Just keep swimming, like just keep being present, like and then because even somebody was asking a question and yesterday, like another human in my physical world, and for some reason it triggered like well, have you ever heard of the bifurcation of reality? And like, so there's this tune, they're like, what? the world is trying to do. I'm like, oh no, like it's not fearful. No, they weren't like that at all. They actually kind of absorbed it quite well. Um, and then I explained like the cell division thing, and so like yeah, like you can think of it this way or think of it in that way, but nothing's necessarily firm. It's just that 3D perspective that thinks everything is hard reality. When you die, you're dead forever, and blah blah blah. And like, and it's not even. I can't even remember it all. It was. Yeah. Yeah, and like it's all contained. If we work really hard or if we're in some kind of emotional stew, we can often like stuff can like ding come into the awareness, but it's not serious, I guess. It's not like, yeah, it's not serious. We don't have to get bogged down with like but what pattern are we in? And like what timeline and what past life and where did we go? And it's like, oh yeah, because something actually, this very rarely, if ever, happens with Adrian. But I remember something she said, or was it something I read in the actual Gaia update where it. Now this is where you would say like maybe Abraham Hicks teachings and some of our light worker or spiritual rabbit hole false light stuff. So Abraham Hicks and or potentially the false light or the healing communities, and they reflect, and then they sometimes are a little bit non-reflective, or like you're a little bit where does that come in? Of this idea of, let me just read the actual Gaia update for you. There, it's right on the page. Deep, dark feelings and vulnerabilities that were uncovered are coming back to the surface, all of these planets. It's time to come into who we really are. Sounds too good to be true. So it's like this idea, in order to make the move over this precipice, we have got to release the past pain. Oh yeah, this is the bit. So we have to release the past, the pain of the past, which means first we have to find it. That love Adrian to bits, of course, that does not resonate in my truth. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't have to go excavating your own soul. It's here now. It's here now. As in your whole, and this is my teaching in the book. I'm like, your whole entire reality is your healer. Everything and everyone is biofeedbacking off of your soul code and off of your own beingness. So any pain that comes up in an experience is there in the moment to be healed. You don't have to sit there in meditation or sit there in relaxation or sit there anywhere and go looking for your pain. Where is it? Although I don't actually think that's quite what she means, if you get me. Like, I feel like we all know in truth what is meant by that, as in, don't bypass that shit. Don't keep blaming. Don't keep sidestepping it. Like, be with it and fucking look it straight down in the eye. Divine sight. I felt the same when I read the line. Right. And again, this is our soul group constellation of kind of unity and oneness of like, exactly. Like, so for our tribe, it's like working on, we are already doing it, so we don't have to go looking. It's at some point being your own healer rather than, can you fix it? Can you fix it? Which, for all of us at different points of our journey, that's where we go to. That's where we get to. Often work with people and then they're off into the next healer and then the next healer and then the next yoga teacher and then the next and the next, like jumping from, just like oftentimes we go from one doctor to another looking for the right pharmaceutical drugs to sort out our hips or our whatever, right? No, you should never re-traumatize yourself, but let it go. Indeed. Oh, weird. I'm getting like another weird paradox insight of like, yeah, because whether it was somebody who told you you're fucked up or whether you created your fucked upness, who cares? If you're exhibiting and or manifesting fucked upness, you're the one that can do something about it if you're aware of it. But retracing your steps and trying to figure it. And that's what I mean about when I go to like people who are like, that's past life karma or da 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 da. And you're like, don't tell me who I am. Let me figure it out for myself. And that's what I want the whole world to do. And that's something earnest in the mirror. She's like, it would genuinely like please me greatly if the whole world was a much happier place. But I'm at a point where I'm like, I know too much about manifestation. I'm like, fuck it. And can't do nothing for nobody except just love. Wait. In the mood is in the southern house, and Jupiter aligns with Mars. Is the age of Aquarius like, is some of the song actually talking about the now? Let me show that shit. I know Divine Sight. I'm sure we had a very similar response. It was that like the moment we read it, we were like, "Oh God, please no! Like I can't do more. I can't do more to excavate more. I'm like, please, I can't put more pressure on this, on this like innocent self. I'm like, we're good. We don't need to. Like, where else can I heal? Because I'm just such a horrible sinner, you know. I'm like, no, I just love. And you're like, you're good. You don't need to keep looking. You've already found it. You've already found it. It's like, fuck. I'm a bit duped. Are you? Ooh, juicy. Hey, Scott. Indeed. Hi there. There you are. There you are. You're back there. And yeah, just being conscious and aware and awake, we can do it all. Drudging shit up. Yeah, I know. Well, and let's be honest, like what's the difference? And like the mind can do that shit too. But like all we can do is observe it. Again, it's better to do that. Ooh, hey Daniel, son. When Jupiter aligns with Mars. This is why I love you guys. Look, Zelda actually looked it up. The moon will be in the moon. Oh, Mars in March 2020. So it's like there's parts of that Age of Aquarius song that are actually relevant to the now of the Age of Aquarius, which is like Yogi Bhajan's Yoga Sutras of the Aquarian Age, of like recognize the other as you and vibrate the cosmos clears the path. So yeah, it's mega, right? Danielson, I'm looking at your avatar being like, are you blowing on a didgeridoo? 3/11. That's March 11th. Awesome. Well, and that was springtime. A bit sexylicious, isn't it? Spring. It's like humans start to get more breedy, I think. Crazy part for me is when you're speaking in full 5D and the person you're talking to can literally watch their mind shift in their eyes. Right. It's like when you first start practicing presence as well, like power of now stuff, and you can in the here and now start to see or bear witness to someone's pain body just do you know what I mean? Like they just start to like soften. You're like, oh, because you don't feed it. Yeah, I love it as well. The person you are talking to can really watch their mind shift in their eyes. Yeah. It's fascinating. And I'm finding that increasingly just generally walking through the world. Like it's more of our, I guess you could say more of our empathic abilities or intuitive abilities or psychic abilities, like more of that stuff is coming online. So more and more when I'm navigating like the world, I'm just amazed at like, and it's not, again, you don't encroach on people's free will, obviously. You just hold space. But like sometimes like just people will walk by, but they'll be quite close. And I'll just get like almost like a computer program download of like where they're still under the veils or where they're masking parts of their selves or and it's just a quick, I'm not explaining it that well, but it's like a quick little like quite a fairly, I would say, whole picture of like where they've been, where they're going, and more especially where they are here now. Um, and maybe it's just a bit of a discernment practice for myself because it never like leads anywhere, but I'm aware of that as an ability to just hold space for people, basically, really. They literally shed that pain then and there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've had them give their entire pain, young females, especially that I don't know, at events. They have collapsed into me. Hmm. Do you know, I'm just gonna be really honest. Like, I have a bit of the young females, especially, like, what's the connection there? Why do you share that specifically that it was young females? What do you have do you feel like you have a certain impact on females versus males? Um, and also, are you present? I have all daughters. Okay, cool. So there's a resonance. Oh my god, I'm like feeling emotion right now. Yeah. Uh, Scott, you're actually coming up for me around like um another friend to chat to about these sort of experiences of like having women kind of like break down in certain energy vortexes and heal loads of ancestral pain or karmic pain. And without the awareness, often people can go, "Oh, fuck you," or like, "What have you done?" or da 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 da. So I'm just so Scott Hicks. Just be aware, right in the right now, I'm having a trigger of potentially somebody to connect you with another man who's a gifted healer. Just not, maybe um, a gifted healer and possibly somebody who would appreciate a male perspective on certain things. Because I'm having a resonance biofeedback of another man who's had similar experiences, but maybe not as. But I think they're coming into the awareness of it. So I guess do you know what as well? Like I guess I'm just aware of the ego stuff and the construct of um Um, right. Okay. And like I guess I'm just aware of certain constructs and then we get attached to what we think. And then I'm just like, and this will just continue to happen as long as it's meant to. It's part of your reality, right? Like they know some healing is there for their friend. So I mean, in a sense, from just a lighthearted perspective shift here, I'm like, yeah, and really all in a similar sense, although they look it would just say if they shed their whole pain, they could, and if they're collapsing into you in that regard, there could be some fairly profound emotional healing going on. And then on another like lighter level, also what you're describing, another way that I would relate to that and or connect the dots for other empaths is that really, Scott, what you're talking about is in a similar way. It's like how a lot of empaths resonate with like, have you ever had strangers come up to you and start telling you their life story? Yeah. A lot of sensitive type people or empathic people, oftentimes random strangers will just suddenly walk up to you and be like, "Blah, blah, blah, blah," and it's partly it's a healing. Their higher self, that's how I see it. It's like their higher self is being guided to, and like your higher self is available for people's well-being, right? And so their higher self guides you to them, and then before you know it, they're sharing. And really, to me, I see that as an offloading. I need someone to hear me. I need someone to witness me. And just by being a witness for people, oftentimes we help them heal. Just by being an unconditional witness, literally just having presence, hold space in non judgment and unconditional love is all that the majority of humans need so that they can be held in love and acceptance, so that they're not carrying some secret shame or guilt or wrongdoing or what have you, or grievance around any of their experiences. Um, so that's part of the role of the empath, you see. All right, my lovers, I'm fading a little bit, so I'm gonna go. One of you have just named your kitties, which I'm super stoked about. I'm totally getting distracted, you guys. My lovers, I'm just not there for you in the same way right now. Okay, so I'm gonna start to shut down this reading. I comprehend how serious hold the pain, another release to another, where they cannot release back to source. They're not self-empowered yet as divine germinated. People need to have their energy experienced by others. I purged her story to be heard. I stood in the cold of the car, just listened. Yeah. Yeah. That's it sometimes, and it's being kind to people. Because we genuinely care. It's just sometimes when it gets to the end, you're like, okay, it's beautiful. Thanks for the connection, you guys. And good night to Helen. Thanks for being here, everybody. Tree Hugger and Divine Sight, and loads of you guys who have tuned in today. Zelda, nice to see you. I feel like you're new to me, Zelda, as well. Daniel H, I said, Jacqueline, Susanna. I do my best to, I'm like thinking John Beanie will probably show up here at some point. I'm not sure if I'll get to the very end where I say, hey, John Beanie, hey, Ox Roxley. For some reason that looks like Carl to me, but I'm not sure if it is. That way, Eddie, Lorna. Okay, I'm bored of myself. Oh, look, MC's here as well. And Katie J. Katie J, it's been such a great chat this morning, you guys. Over an hour. Anywho, always my biggest love to all of you. Lynn, Christian, Cara, yeah, booyah. So, thank you all so much for your mega hot love vibe and your well wishes for the hair chopperoonie. I'm looking forward to growing my hair long again. I'm not going to lie, but I'm pleased with the cut. And in fairness, it feels much healthier and much more representative of a fresh start. So I'm thankful for all your guys' love, and I'm looking forward to my share tomorrow. Just because that's how we roll. Have a great day, everybody. I'll speak to you soon. Thanks again for being here. Lots of love.